You ever scroll through a sea of shuffleboard tables, see that glossy walnut finish and think, this looks perfect for my game room, only to end up with a piece of furniture that feels flimsy, takes forever to level, or just doesn't hold up when the family gets competitive? I've been there, and I know the hesitation that comes with dropping a few $100s on a table that looks great online, but ends up being a disappointment in real life. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Hathaway Challenger 14-foot model tries to solve a lot of those common pain points. It's marketed as a complete shuffleboard set that includes everything you need to start playing right away. A 1.5-inch thick hardwood playfield, 8 steel pucks, a brush, wax, a walnut-finished cabinet, built-in climate adjusters, leg levelers, and even dual abacus scorers. On paper, that sounds like a turnkey solution for anyone who wants a permanent arcade-style centerpiece. First, let's talk about the space you'll need. 14 feet of length plus a couple of feet on each side for the cabinets, and for players to move around, isn't something you can squeeze into a cramped apartment. I measured the footprint of my own basement game room before even opening the box, and the table took up roughly 15 feet of length, leaving just enough room for a small sofa. If you're living in a tight space, that extra length quickly becomes a deal breaker, regardless of how beautiful the walnut veneer looks. Assuming you have the room, the next real-world hurdle is getting the table perfectly level. Hathaway includes leg levelers, which are a nice touch, but the table is heavy enough that you'll still need to spend a solid 15-20 minutes fine-tuning each leg, especially if your floor isn't uniformly flat. The built-in climate adjusters help mitigate humidity-related warping, which is something I only learned about after reading a few forum threads about indoor shuffleboards. In practice, you'll want to keep the room's temperature and humidity fairly stable. Otherwise, you'll notice the playfield developing subtle bowing over a few months, even with the adjusters set correctly. Now, the playfield itself. The 1.5-inch hardwood surface feels solid under the pucks, and the poly-coated finish gives it a low-friction glide that mimics a professional-grade board. I ran a few quick games with my kids, and the pucks slid consistently from one end to the other, which is a big win compared with cheaper laminate surfaces that tend to grab or create uneven rolls. The included brush and wax kit made the first setup straightforward. You simply spread a thin layer of wax, let it dry, and then brush the surface to a shine. The wax needs to be reapplied every few weeks if you play regularly, but that's standard for any wooden shuffleboard and far less hassle than having to sand and refinish a cheaper table that starts to look worn. Scoring is often where home tables stumble. The Challenger comes with dual abacus scorers mounted on the side cabinets. They're mechanical, so there's no need for batteries, and they're easy to reset after each game. In my experience, the abacuses held up fine even after a couple of intense family tournaments. The only downside is that the numbers are fairly small, so you might need to lean in a bit to read the score, which can be a minor inconvenience during fast-paced play. Storage is another practical consideration. The walnut cabinet is built from MDF with a laminate finish that matches the exterior. Inside, there's a compartment that holds the 8 pucks, the brush, and the wax bottle, keeping everything tidy and out of the way when you're not playing. The hinges feel sturdy, but because the cabinet isn't solid wood, you'll want to avoid slamming the doors. In real life, that hasn't been a problem for me, but it's worth noting if you have kids who tend to be a bit rough with furniture. Who should actually buy this table? If you have a dedicated game room or a large family room, love the idea of weekly shuffleboard nights, and are comfortable spending a few $100s on a set that includes all the accessories you need, this is a solid choice. The built-in climate adjusters and leg levelers mean you're less likely to encounter the warping issues that plague cheaper models, and the walnut finish adds a classy look that fits well with a modern or traditional decor. It also appeals to serious hobbyists who want a table that can handle regular play without constant maintenance. Who should skip it? Renters who can't commit to a 14-foot piece of furniture, people with limited floor space, or anyone who only expects to play a few times a year. The table's weight, well over 200 pounds, makes moving it a two-person job at best, and the assembly, while not overly complex, does require a decent amount of time and a few tools. If you're looking for a portable, lightweight option you can store away after use, a smaller, fold-out model would be a better fit. In terms of value, the Challenger bundles a